guys.
Okay.
Look, this is without any doubt the most powerful testimony on earth. And you won't find another testimony anywhere in the world that compare with it. Not if you really sit down and listen and pay undivided attention. I don't want to, I want you to understand something. Both me and Maren and many other people in 2012 went through what's called the 212 phenomenon. Now, if you Google this, it says something about Mayan ancestry, genetic memories, ancestry beings, ancestry tools, ancestry spirits. I don't know what you want to make of this, but I'll tell you something, okay? And I can only tell you how I come to learn something myself and many other people that went through this. But we had a very strange UAP, unexplained aerial phenomenon, in 2012 that we really can't explain in a way people really understand unless they go through it, correct?
Yeah.
And you can't communicate with people about it at all. Not at all.
No.
And they don't understand what you're saying, they don't understand what you mean because it's out of this world.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
No.
It's something that's, in the Bible it says principality in the power in the air, something in the atmosphere, an outside influence that has a profound effect on our reality. Now, in many cases, like my own, okay, we went through a death experience, and what happened is we changed from that day and we went through a transformation, and this transformation was an outside influence. And it's such an unbelievable transformation that it scares the living shit out of you, and you really, really put yourself in a bad position, like completely innocent again, right? Like a child, right? You're scared, you're stressed, you're trying to work things out because everything's changing inside you, and the way that you think, the way that you judge, the way that you see things starts to alter and change, and people around you thinks there's something wrong with you. They start to think you're on drugs or crazy or something. They can't work it out. But it's not like that. It becomes a communication breakdown, and you change so much that it's unbelievable. And then you have a personal problem yourself trying to express things because you've been this character your whole life, right, throughout your life. And whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever you've done, is totally irrelevant, because up to that point, something happens that nothing in this world has ever prepared for you, it prepared you for. And I do mean nothing. Nothing in the world prepared us for what's going to happen, eh? And you can't talk about it. And medical boards don't understand. Your family don't understand. Your friends don't understand. And you alter and you change, and it's like they don't really recognize you anymore, and you become very distant with everybody. And something really begins to alter. In my case, 3.5 years later, I got called into Perth Hospital and sat down with 2 top biologists and 2 top scientists and 2 people from what's classified as the Star Champion Corps, the biggest think tank. And this was a massive surprise to me. Massive surprise. It was a meeting held in the hospital for 6 hours. And it was off the record for a reason. And I've done a lot of things in my life. Can you pass my book? This is the testimony of a drug reborn. So I went through a massive rebirth, right? A crossover. They call it the crossover in the Bible. I went through a massive crossover, which means I crossed over from my character, my personality, my mentality, into a celestial primordial being that took control of my vessel. And what happened in 2012 is I got pushed out of my vessel, something I never expected and never knew nothing about, but I got pushed out of my vessel and my vessel walked away. My own personality and my own mentality walked away, and I got pushed out of my body, okay? And it's an event so powerful, and I wasn't the only one that went through this. I met other people who went through exactly the same thing with exactly the same event. So I'm not alone. And when I sat down in 2016 with these people, right, they had done DNA studies with all these things that happened with people in hospital that had a death experience or near-death experience, okay, all sorts of medical reports from 212 Phenomena, and they were studying this. And my DNA altered so dramatically in that duration of time. They had the record of it. They sat down and said, Kim, listen, we all have amnesia, trapped in a reincarnation trap. And very few people know this. But the Great Awakening is a natural selection. A natural selection. And people have been naturally selected worldwide. And you're one of those people that we know about. And we know you've been naturally selected from the day you were born. And we have you on files and studies since 1984. Kim, you're a mastermind. There are 7 things that you've done no one else has done, okay, recorded by the biggest think tank. You were in the Star Chamber Inquiry in 1999, and you were the most wanted with 105 people arrested, and it was an inquiry, Kim. You didn't really know what that inquiry was about. You thought it was about you in the underground world and the fact that your product was in every testing center, which is also what it was. You developed glasses that no one thought of that took a 40-hour process down to 3.5. When we had our direction microphones, you could feel when we were in the courtroom putting pen to paper with deja vu to predict the future, prevent what's going to happen with remote viewing. We know that with direction microphone, Kim. You know, that inquiry, we kept our cards close, but when you stamped an engine number in 84 in such a way the x-ray machine 5 years later couldn't detect it, we knew you had deja vu and could see the future. You were the biggest mastermind on 17 current affairs shows in 1992, Kim, 1994. 17 current affairs shows, and you were the one that mastermind loopholes and laws, okay, and also knew how to mastermind manipulation and unravel everything. That's why you became the most wanted in the Star Chamber Inquiry, when you created the most powerful enlightenment drug and true serum in the world that brought people back in the primal state, which you can see in the movie Limitless. They knew who I was, okay, and I didn't know myself. They knew more about me than I knew about myself. Because people said I was crazy and a freak of nature, and I didn't know what to think. I had amnesia myself. And I went for a massive transformation when I died, clinically dead for 23 minutes in 2012. And when I went through that massive transformation, I get called in for this meeting, and then I'm told for 6.5 hours with 34 years study and 16 years of DNA that it was my DNA in 2008 in prison that led to the cure of the human condition that's going to save humanity. My DNA, self-preservation mode for life, with 2 modes of mentality and 130 nucleosome molecules with genetic repair kits. I had a major heart attack with 3 stents, but it didn't take the medication, grew brand new arteries. I was powerless, my neck down, got up and walked out of hospital, and they proved it with DNA and my Neuralink, that I in fact got up and walked out myself, and 190 people had flatline, paralyzed from the neck down, and got up and walked out themselves like I did. But there was something else. In 1992, Kirsty Nasty died from a drug overdose and was came back to life at home and rushed to Ipswich Hospital in 1992. She was given 0% chance of living with the drug that she took, then after killed 50 people. But they worked on her frantically to try and save her life. She flatlined, right, in that moment, the second time in hospital. And her body lifted 8 inches off the bed, one end to the other. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And she wrote the most powerful poem in 2003, The One and Only. And they went and interviewed her because this was the most powerful miracle they ever seen in any hospital in the world, with 7 peer reports and on CCTV. So they interviewed her and asked her why and how come she wrote the most powerful poem that went #1 worldwide for 8 months in 2003, The One and Only. And her answer was that she was sent back because of me, and I had the divine power to give her life back. Now, it's really strange. My brother was in the Kempsey bus accident in 1989. He was in a coma for 3.5 weeks, and 36 people died in that bus accident in Australia and stopped the country. After a 3.5 week coma, he flatlined and went to ward next door, right? And the next 10 days, on the front page of the paper with Dr. Wright and Queensland Mental Health, he said goodbye to 90 people that died in his bus. And the only one that didn't come to him and say goodbye was the driver responsible for the accident. 20 people died on his bus. The last person that came to say goodbye was his wife. His wife, Kathy, said on the front page of the paper written by Dr. Wright and the Queensland Mental Health, and big miracle. Every time he said goodbye to someone out of the blue for about 30 seconds, he didn't know anyone on the bus accident and he couldn't remember the accident. When Kathy came to say goodbye, the last one in 10 days, out of 19 people, Dr. Wright and the psychiatrist was there at half of these events. And we were all there in the last one when Kathy came. And this blew my mind away because something happened in that room you can't explain, like an unexplained area phenomenon. And Dr. Wright and the psychiatrist were there and they were both atheists. Well, they both changed their mind after this event. When Kathy came, she said she was the only one that made it. The driver went in the abyss, and the other 18 were lost, getting one more final chance. That was on the 27th of January 1990. Exactly 27 years later to the day, on the 27th of January 2017, on my son's birthday, something extraordinary happened. And I want you to listen very carefully. My brother didn't talk to me for 27 years and we lost the relationship. So he blamed me for something for 27 years and I didn't even know. When I was 5 years old, I told my mum about the worst moment in life in 1945 World War II, 15 years before I was born. And I said, Mum, what happened? As if it was me, sitting in my mum's arms in a cellar with bombs outside and we were shit scared. Mum said I was crazy having a dream. But the fact was, she didn't tell me for 50 years that it was her in her mum's arms and the worst moment in her life in 1945. And I have that genetic memory in my genetic ancestry tools. And she said it was a freak of nature, right? Yet I had these abilities throughout my life, right? And that's why I went in the Star Chamber inquiry, because they say the Gatekeeper report, right, in that inquiry, they were doing an inquiry about people with godlike power. They were watching this. And I was in the underground world, took over 2 top scientists from NASA and brought out the most powerful enlightenment drug from the Sumerian tablets that NASA was involved in, because they gave me the structure. And they were involved in all this. NASA made sure that the most powerful enlightenment drug in the world, they called bread manna, that Moses and Christ used to bring people back in their primal state from a plant called Maya, landed in my lab. And when an every test and sent across Australia and brought down the highest titanium mercury count of mines and measurements for 30 years. The course of the Royal Commission paying for 23 years, stolen back to generation of polity, biggest mental health research and DNA studies done with Jeremy Griffiths, and they found my DNA in prison in 2008. The Bible says I come from the cave of prison with the tooth of masses, with fire came in my mouth, in shining clothes, in raggedy clothes, like a thief in the knife, with shining armor. And I happen to fit that description for a reason, and it blows my mind away for a reason, and I can't lie to you about this. 5 biblical prophecies land on my date of birth with the 5 most powerful declarations worldwide. Daniel 9:27. In the middle of 7, you'll see a supernova, Jacob's star. When it was a supernova middle of 7 last year on my birthday, 9/27. Okay, September 27. Daniel 9:27, middle of 7. Jacob's trouble, Jacob's star, supernova. 2 powerful prophecies land on my date of birth. 4 days later, you will see 2 moons in the middle of 7. And 4 days later, on the 1st of October, 2 moons. On the 27th of September 2/27, on the New York Climate Clock 7-year countdown, go look at a 2-minute video on YouTube. The most important number placed in center society. And it'll be displayed to the 27th of September. Exactly 2,000 years when Christ was baptized by John, 27th September 27. Okay? The Bible warns you about post-human states that the whole world will be deceived in a massive global delusion state, and one person will come with the resurrection and will protect the elect. Just think about that for the moment. They're the only ones that won't be deceived or delusional. Well, I know the elect are with the most authentic DNA that can master the mind and use 100% of their brain because we're in the Star Chamber inquiry. They know that too, and they told me. They know exactly who we are because we can use our genetic memory, and we wake up from amnesia. And that's why they sat me down and said, Kim, you can do things that no one else can do because we know that you're the one that brought your wife back to life. And she's not the only one. We also know that Yan didn't speak to you. We also know why he doesn't speak to you. Because he was sent back from heaven to earth because of you, Kim. He wasn't allowed to stay there. He was given another opportunity. And he was sent back from heaven to earth because of you. He's not the only one, Kim. You know 3 other people with exactly the same thing that happened. And you also know those 3 people. So do we. And it's funny how these people always get sent back from heaven to earth because of you, Kim. And it's funny, Kim, because are you aware, Kim, you're the last human being born on earth that can do every single thing that Christ can and more on the biggest study ever done with DNA. You're the one of a kind, the one and only on our study. The only one of a kind. You fit everything in the biblical prophecy, and we know who you are. We've been watching who we're going to be. We've been watching you, Kim. We know who you are. Nobody believes in you, Kim, because every single human being on earth is under mind control, and you knew that in 1994 when you hacked the harp and exposed the documents in 1997 and became the most wanted. And that's why Dealing Nassan got locked up, and you got locked up for corruption, and your own arresting officer commenced this affidavit from the police force with 40 others, and we have a statement from all of them. They know the world's full-on nefarious, Kim. We know that. We know they're possessed by an outside influence worldwide in majority of the population, and will never wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap because their trap can only use 7 to 15% of their brain. Kim, we know you can use 100% in every test done. We know you have the most powerful God-like power. We also know, Kim, you're born the 27th September 1960. Do you know what 27 stands for, Kim? You're 27 biofuels. You have 32 senses. You're the only one that can use all 32 with your 27 biofuels, which is your divine power to command nature. We know that, Kim. We not only know that, we also know something else, Kim. You're born on September, the scales for justice, and 1960 is a king of all kings, the metal rat. Your son and your grandson's born the 27th, were the two most powerful events that's ever happened. Kim, you wrote 3 official documents, right, to state that if you get unlawfully deported, you will get sent back through the toughest facial and security system in the world in a glitch. God will send you back. You sent that letter to Border Security, Immigration, and the government. Then you got unlawfully deported. You had a 2-hour interview with Interpol in Denmark, a 6-page warning letter that you can't travel on facial recognition. Then you get on the plane through 6 international events and come back in Australia. Then, when they got you 10 days later, when you got sent home to your mum and home to your brother, because God said he was going to send you home to your mum and your brother, you wrote that down in the letters. So we also know about why you went home to your mum and your brother on that day, the 27th of February 2017. We know, Kim, that your mother did not tell you about the worst moment in her life in 1945 till that day, and she told you you were drowned above top of 2 years old, and she thought that you were possessed by a demon and you were the devil come back to haunt her. But you said to her you didn't know, and she didn't explain it to you. But she lied to you. It was the worst moment in her life, and she got bipolar, and so did you, Kim, but you cured it and she didn't. She couldn't cure it because bipolar is uncurable in the human condition, but you cured it. We found that in 2008. You cure everything. You cure everything, Kim. So you have that genetic memory and that genetic process in your DNA, and we can confirm that now. You got a brand new heart around your stents, right? You got up and walked down to hospital and your parents were neck down. Okay, you brought your wife back to life and other people with other miracles we know about. And then you got all this godlike power on 7 peer reports, like the direction microphones, stamping an engine number before the X-ray machine comes out. Okay, you can do things 7 times faster with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen, and with remote viewing. And then you decide laboratory glass at no sign of soil after they took an 80 process down to 3.5 and made the most powerful enlightenment drug in the world's ever seen, from a plant called mayim, bread manna, that Christ has most used. And you worked out the pattern on that and the right format and made the most powerful enlightenment drug in the world and the most powerful truth serum that brought everybody down to their primal state and stopped violence, gang killing, drug deaths, and domestic violence where kids got to take other parents, get home, get raped and bashed, and becomes prison positives later, as the Royal Commission been paying out since 2001. So, you know, it's funny about this, how many people lie, right? When I can master my mind and use 100% of my brain with all my godlike power, my supernatural abilities, with all my chromosomes and all my natural biofuels and my biosenses. So I have dimensional thinking, and I'm not an idiot. And that's the first time it's confirmed to me. When I always thought I was an idiot, anyone lied about me. So I'm born the 27th September for Scales for Justice, metal rat. My son and my grandson's born those 2 days. On my grandson's birthday, I wrote the 3 official letters on his birthday, the most powerful confirmation on earth that if I get unlawfully deported, I'll get sent back through by God in the toughest facial recognition in the world. So on my son's birthday, I land back in Australia, go home to my mum that very day. I said to my mum, what happened? God said, you have to tell me, Mum. Now you know he sent me through the international airports and I couldn't get back. Now you know it's true that God did send me back. And he told me, you must tell me about that moment that's still in here as it happened yesterday. Because you said only you know. And that's what my mum first told me. I've been drowned and burnt up a 2-year soul. She thought I was coming back to haunt her. But the facts were, she lied to me. I couldn't deal with the truth because it was her in 1945 World War II. And when she first told me that, it was like a massive boom. Boom, 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 boom. Because then I remember when I died, when she told me I died when I was 2. And when I died, I went to another dimension into the past and the future. And I told her about many things when she said it's a freak of nature. But now I know that all those things are true because they've been unfolding ever since. And everyone lies about it. Okay, I'm the only one telling the truth worldwide. I'm the only one that has all these tools. I'm the only one that's right across the whole world. And you know what? God created all the prophecies and said, you'll be in post-human states and deceived, except for the elect. Post-human states was declared on my birthday after the first G20 on the 26th of September 99. On the 27th worldwide, you were told, your world's crazy, your parents are crazy, and you're losing your sixth sense, stripped from the sixth sense for the 6th time in the 6th mass extinction. And everyone's losing their biofuels worldwide with mental disorders and defects going through the roof, with stress and anxiety and a suicide rate and pandemics worldwide and confusion, frustration, delusion, paranoia, and a massive global communication breakdown. With over-exaggeration, and everyone thinks they're living the truth with voices inside the mind that are declared ultimately assigned from extinction they gave consent to. They live in a massive global delusive state. They cannot master mind with mental telepathy, ESP, remote urine, telekinesis, levitation, spoon-bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu, predicting the future event was going to happen. So they have no spirituality. They only have mentality, and they don't believe that. They have amnesia. They can only use 7 to 10% of their brain in over 99%. Right? The highest IQ can only use 50% brain. So they have brainwash, right? Brain fog to 93 to 90, 85 to 93% brain. They don't believe that. Look at the movie Limits. Look what happens with the drug that we develop. Right? He comes right over to challenge 100% of his brain with a vortex of information with your most neighbors that I have. You know the movie Keanu Reeves Matrix documentary? I'm the real deal. And I'm the last person will you ever believe in because you're that mentally insane and controlled by an outside influence and you can't feel the truth anymore like I can, blindfolded. Because when they come to get me, I can feel them from the courtrooms putting pen to paper. When my wife's 3,000 kilometers away, I ring up in the morning because I can feel that she's sick. And I'm always right. And that's what the government said on these documents. I am always right and they're always wrong about every single thing that they did about me and everything they study. They know I'm 7 times faster and far more intelligent when I can stamp an engine up in such a way the X-ray machine 5 years later couldn't detect it. When I'm a mastermind loopholes, the laws of manipulation, and I was the one that unraveled everything. And in the Star Chamber inquiry, their introduction to me, when federal police and NASA come in with the Parliament has to seek authority to unleash the biggest think tank, when they didn't know how to control me, that's when I got them for treason and had to shut the case down. And I got them for corruption, coercion, collusion and treason, and they were forced to shut the case down. That was their introduction to me. I got them for corruption, then they set me up for corruption, and it's in every case. And my cases by Chief Justice in 2010 are the most corrupt cases in Australian history. That's right, the most corrupt cases in Australian history because they're full of evil and poison. In the money laundering case, put my wife and kids in witness protection, right? Being so evil toward me, you have no idea. 8 most corrupt cases in every university by Chief Justice in Jersey. That's your governments for you, right? So God doesn't work for your systems, doesn't work for your education system that puts you in reverse psychology engineering and your body says corruption, collusion, so that you can't function in life and you can only 7 to 10% of your brain and your molecules genetic repair kit goes into amnesia and your psychosecretion dies by the time you're 12. Okay, and then your body starts going corruption in the daytime, and you all die prematurely from stress-related diseases in every single Western world with 600 to 6,000 defective genes that are hereditary into all your kids. That's why every American, right, now born today, as said worldwide, 77%, has serious chronic diseases, and American has the worst parasites and mental disorders and defects in the world, and are the most nefarious in their mind with propaganda and lies, and most of their products are full of poison. Okay, 66% of all their products is full of garbage and poison. All their products for health and that has been proven 68% are all cons because they con everyone. They're full of gays, society, drugs, sex and rock and roll. They take 1.5 ton of meth every day. Tony up at the Prime Minister's State of Management System 2016 on governments, authorities, defence force and all the government workers. And they're 80% positive to meth and exposed that worldwide. 88% medications got up 36 times since 1994. And that was the biggest problem in 2009, in 1999, that the world's crazy, right, fully loaded with mental disorders and defects, right, at 38% in 1999. Now we know voltage reliability is anti-clockwise in 98.7% of the population. Anti-clockwise in their aura, where their body starts going corrupt in the daytime, and can only be for 3 hours a night. Only 1.3% are clockwise, right, with their genetic process, and think it's outside the mind without mental disorders and defects. And they don't live in grammar and inside their mind. They live in their primordial state to control the vision from the outside in through natural selection, because they're natural, organic, and innocent. Unlike every actor, right, on every screen, like every American and every Western civilization, on reverse psychology into themselves, and are just characters. They're not in control of their own message because they live in their mind. When they live in their mind, you can only 7 to 15% of the brain, right? They're not the mastermind of their own brain. So who masters their mind? When they gave them consent to master their mind for them. And they do exactly what they're told worldwide. And they're artificial human beings all over the world, transhuman, going to zombie apocalypse, with the body snatching rise and divine syndromes, and mental disorder and defects going through the roof, where they lost all their magnetic pulse, 27 biofields, because they gave consent and live in their mind in mentality like an actor in a five sense world, 5D world. Light powered, deceiving, demonic, it's only personality, and they all live in a personality with false tools, right? And they're not in the Christ image. They're now in Christ mentality in their mind. Christ consciousness is only a mental process set up by the Rockefellers under the secret covenants with everything they choose and everything they consume. Okay, and they inverted their perceived effect in 1920, and they lost their 24 chromosome in dormancy. You can see in studies of research in 1920. They lost all their genetic memory with their genetic process with their institutes in 1960. And I'm the last one born on the 27th September 1960. The king of all kings, the metal rat. Okay, under scars for justice, and 27 stands for the Holy Spirit, divine light. It stands for your divine power to command nature in your biofields. And I'm the most powerful person in the world with those fields, recorded by the big study of done we've done. I can't make it up. Then every biblical prophecy declared, the last man born was born in 1960, and it's me, on the 27th September. The Bible warns you, the last Christ image, the witness will come, and he will leave his mark on earth and write the book that unfolds with evidence. Right? Write that book that unfolds with evidence of deja vu. He will come from the cave of prison with truth and masses. Right? With fire coming as map and regular clothes, like a thief in knife and shining armor, with the real truth. Okay? He will also be born before post-millennium stage. Post-millenniums and post-human stage. That's 1960. You can't get a more perfect prediction. And then, on the 27th September 227 is my birthday, 2,000 years when Christ was baptized by John. 27th September 1999, you're declared post-human since 1960, and the world is crazy and lost their sixth sense in the sixth mass extinction, right, going to sixth mass extinction for the sixth time. The Extinction Rebellion are going against Book of Revelation 27 to stop the sixth sense being extinct. The Extinction Rebellion is what we started back in 1994. That grew to an army, the world's biggest army the world's ever seen, of 335 million people. And on the 27th of September, my birthday, in 2019, we shut down 4,500 capital cities worldwide with the Extinction Rebellion in 150 countries. And you didn't care. See, I'm the one that's going to come with the biggest army the world's ever seen, with the wedding and the bride and mainstream media worldwide, the two witnesses. It'll start with a man-woman, it'll finish with a man-woman. The two candlesticks, the two olive trees, the two witnesses will be a mainstream media worldwide, and I'll come for the wedding of the bride with the world's biggest army the world's ever seen. You went in checkmate with the zombie apocalypse in 220 under the 220 to 227 7-year lay. And the middle of 7 was last year with 3 massive prophecies. And when Jacob's star went in supernova, the portal opened up to Jacob's stars, and the orbs of light within the light, the stars within the stars, came from heaven to earth all over the world. And they've been coming to us since we were kids. And they came to me that day in the most powerful confirmation when all these events happened, with the most powerful confirmation on earth, when I came back from border security and went and faced my brother and my mum. And then I said to my brother, how come you haven't spoken to me for 27 years to that day? Because you were sent back from heaven to earth because of me and blamed me for 27 years. And that day, the JP at Brisbane Airport confirms that he owns a red GTO Mustang, and border security confirmed that I'm not on camera in 6 announcements, but every other person there is. I'm on CCTV outside, and every JP confirmed I walked through there, and the conversation, especially on that day, the same day, 3 powerful miracles in the beginning on my son's birthday, and in the end on my grandson's birthday, or the other way around. Astonishing, because that day, Border Security records the most powerful confirmation on earth with Border Security and the most powerful, toughest facial recognition in the world. I went through a glitch, as warned in the letters. And the head of Border Security changed his whole facism and came in with Sarah, right, the chaplain at Brisbane Detention in March 2017. Go and confirm. Both her and the head of Border Security had a massive divine intervention, changed the whole face system in the atheist Border Security, and wrote the most powerful document in the world. The most powerful confirmation that God does exist with evidence, fully confirmed. And God said he's going to create the most powerful confirmation with Border Security and atheists in the highest security in the world, in a glitch, that he does exist with evidence. And he did, with me. I can't make it up. And then all these biblical signs that I knew nothing about lands on my date of birth. Every single one of them. Daniel 9:27, the middle of 7, Jacob's trouble. Supernova the same day, in the middle of 7, my birthday. And I can't make it up. The world's biggest army, Extinction Rebellion, shut down 4,500 cities in 150 countries worldwide on 27 September 2019. And just to give you the odds, me and Maren didn't even know where to book in and get married, right, with a certificate with the government. So we booked in, and on the 27th of July, 2022, we went into Times Square in Denmark, into the Times Square house to get a certificate, marriage certificate. When we walked out, the guy that won Tour de France in Denmark was about to be interviewed right there in Times Square with over 7,000 cameras worldwide. And this is the most telecasted thing in the world, Tour de France. Over 7,000 cameras. And guess what, man? We walked right out in front of him about half a minute before he gets interviewed, and it's on cameras all over the world. We walk out, and you can see that video with his timeline. Yes. You need to watch all my videos here, and the mark on earth I had to leave here, right? The mark on earth that I was developed for, and what God put me through, and I didn't even know. I had no control on what I was doing until then, right? I still did not know until all these events, and then he sent me home and created the most powerful confirmation on earth, and why he chose me the day I was born, to prove with my mum and my brother that I was specially chosen for this. He created that so no one could lie to me. No one can lie about the truth about all these events and the most powerful biblical prophecies that lands on my date of birth with the declarations worldwide that's already happened. But here's something very powerful. The wedding and the bride and the two witnesses. We're on mainstream media that day. We walk out from Times Square with the wedding and the certificate. And you see in this video up here that I'm waving to the audience, right? We filmed them from outside, and I don't know why it happened. But a friend of ours was with us and filmed it, didn't he? 22 seconds. And as we walk out, I'm waving to everybody worldwide going, thank you for coming to my wedding. Thank you for coming to my wedding. Thank you for coming to my wedding. Thank you for coming to the wedding. The wedding, the bride, the two witnesses. And we didn't even know, man. We had no idea when that happened that day. You know when we first found this out? Last year, after supernova on my date of birth, and every last single thing fell together. Yeah. We teach the resurrection and protect the elect with the book Freedom by Jeremy Gifts, had by 16,000 top scholar world, the Holy Grail of Life, DNA, the book of life, to cross people over, right? To go through the book Freedom and stick your head for the light in the tunnel display describes in 15 books. We're Not Breathing program has won a Nobel Prize without having a credential to recreate the second secretion, to bring people back in the primordial state, to use their genetic memory and wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap, to preserve DNA, the life preservation made for DNA to preserve DNA, right, for longevity. You know, the Bible says we're going to live to be 1,000 years old. We're going to repair everything and never suffer any consequence ever again. And that's why people are naturally selected for this. The elect, that teaches the right tools in our DNA, the book of life, with natural selection. So we don't teach the unnatural selection with any synthetics. We teach the natural selection with a genuine crossover back in your primordial state where things come to you and you go through a 3.5-year transformation the way I did. And believe me, waking up from amnesia and coming out of your shell into your primordial state is one hell of an experience. And no one knows this. No one knows this. No one understands because the mind can't work it out. We proved that with the drug. The mind can't work it out. The mind's limited, and the mind's the oppressor, and become your own worst enemy. And for a 40-day fast that we teach every day, right, you break free from amnesia and cross over back into Pamol state to think outside the mind like Christ can, and then you start to go in that genetic process like he did at 24 when he discovered who he was and said, I'm son of David, son of Abraham, with the same genetic memory. And I went through that genetic memory to know, right, and I'm not the only one, that we all have the same tools in our DNA with the same genetic memory that we can all do what Christ can and more. Nobody believes in this. Nobody even cares, man. No one cares, man. Trying to get through people, they have no faith, no care, no nothing. They really don't care. They just go on with their business because they're possessed beyond the point of return, as Jeremy gives us. We can no longer change the way they think. And the voice of mind is only a personality, and they don't care. They haven't got feelings anymore. They lost all their feelings and they're under mind control that they give consent to and do what they're told. They have no feelings, man. They have no soul power. They sold their soul out. They got no spirituality. They've only got mentality. Otherwise, they could do what I can and more. They sold their spirits out, man. The whole world sold their spiritual power out, their supernatural power. That's why if you want it back, you have to dedicate through the resurrection, the restoration of your DNA. And the mind can't work it out. That's why the crossover is a 40-day fast. So you stop unnatural selection, come right out of your cell, out of your mind, like you see in the movie Limits, okay? Like you see in the movie Limits, you come right out of your cell, okay? And you cross over and start a genetic process with genetic memory, and things come to you out of the blue, like a universal language you see in the movie Limitless. Mate, you do not understand, right? You don't understand. Your mind cannot work it out, and that's because we have amnesia in our biological genes to use our natural selection with our natural organic manuscripts. And I can use them, guys. And these are facts with the most powerful confirmation. No one believes in me. Well, I was chosen by God with the 5 most powerful biblical, right, prophecies declared worldwide, lands on my date of birth, 27 September. And it's not my fault. But everybody throws stones at me because people hate red hair and freckles, and people are very, very judgmental, and they don't like Christ. They don't like God's decisions. They don't like God's selection. They think it's going to come through a church or through a book or book smart education or through their artificial intelligence or their imitation. That's how dumb they are. The Bible and the oldest Bible's word explains exactly who I am and every sign to look for, but you just don't care. Even though these signs are created, where last year you cannot deceive yourself with the 2 moons and the 1st October in the middle of 7 and Jacob's star supernova. And all the ups of light stars within the stars came from heaven and earth all over the world. You saw it with your own eyes, they're everywhere. And they don't like you. They don't like personalities trapped in their self-centered mentality. They only come to people that are genuine spirituality through natural selection and natural order. Those that live by their natural motives in their spirituality and going to get lied to and deceived by everybody else that's trapped in their mind and cannot do mental telepathy, ESP, remote you, telekinesis, levitation, spoon mini clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu, and right to predict the future, prevent what's going to happen. They can't go into dimensional thinking, and they can't do what Christ can and more, and not even remotely close. They all die prematurely from stress because of amnesia, because it's in their DNA with genetic memory in every single human being on earth. So if you cross over, you can do what I can and more like Christ can, and go into longevity and live at the timeline of 7-fold wisdom for 1,000 years. The Bibles say on the 27th September, 2,000 years after Christ was baptized by John, on 2027, that's why they're going underground military bunkers worldwide and put up nuclear warnings. Let me tell you something. There's no more heaven and hell. That's why Christ said, you know, Christ was a street warrior who lived in the streets as a street teacher, and they didn't like him, did they? And what was he always doing? Hanging around criminals, those sinning and so suffering. He said, save those in and out of jail that's got demons in the mind that goes against the system. Don't follow all those that think they're righteous. I'm not here to save these people. I'm here to give a sword and put a sword between their families and friends. Their own family, their own friends. Right? He takes them on the paddock and he says, love thy enemy, work with the enemy. Right? Love thy enemy, walk with the enemy and work with the enemy. He says, be red hot or ice cold. Don't be lukewarm in the middle. You can't feed two wolves at the same time, and 99% of people do, without realising it. Be ice cold or lukewarm. Walk with the enemy, work with the enemy. Love thy enemy, but don't be lukewarm. He tells you that for a reason. And until you wake up to your amnesia and your human condition you're conditioned into with religious, political behavior, New Age cults, and imitation and artificial intelligence and your grammar, none of it works. So every single thing you're going into has put you in a massive global delusional state because you haven't got deja vu and remote viewing, and you lie to yourself that much. You can't think clockwise with your sixth sense, and your aura isn't clockwise. You have mental disorders and defects, and then you deny it. Mate, that's how dumb and how godless and immoral the whole world is. They have no feelings, man. They have no faith or care. You have to be in my shoes to know that. I'm the only one of a kind. No one has any faith in what God does. Even with the most powerful confirmation and biblical science like this, they couldn't give a shit. They have their own God in their mind. They even tell you, I believe in God, and go deadly against me. God said he will create one person that will come with the resurrection and protect the elect. The Bible tells you that. You will know who I am. It says you will not know who I am, but you'll know by the tools, the wedding, the bride, and we'll be on mainstream and we'll be worldwide. And we'll come with the most powerful declaration on earth. The Bible tells you that, but you still believe the voices inside your mind. So does every pastor, preaching Christian, because they have different godfathers and follow different footsteps, and they don't even believe in it. They follow Baal because their bullish reliability in their DNA is anti-clockwise, so they're antichrist, and only 1.3% is clockwise and are not antichrist. And those are facts in DNA. DNA is a book of life, and it shows that every human being on earth depends on deception and lies and lie about themselves because they're in the 23rd seed chromosome, right? The dragon seed and the reptilian mind. We're in the 24th chromosome, double Y, double X chromosome, the Christ chromosome, the blood of the Lamb. We follow the woman's seed, you follow the blood of the Lamb. You follow the dragon seed. That's in your bloodline. You're in the 23rd chromosome. You're trapped in mentality and reptilian mentality, and it's the only way you can think. You don't have any godlike power. You don't have any supernatural power because you gave it away for mentality. That's why they declared posthumous states in 99 that the last man being born on earth in natural state and natural order was born in 1960. And those are facts that no one can deal with. It's not my fault that you all gave consent to Baal, nefarious, that controls your mind in a massive global delusional state, right? Trapped in a personality that will tell you whatever you want to believe in your own truth. And that's what you all believe in, your own truth in your mind. God warned you about this. No one believes in this, eh? No one believes in what God's done. No one believes in God at all in every declaration and everything you warned about right in front of your face, and you couldn't care less. I know that better than anyone. God knows no one has that relationship, and they won't be saved. They'll go in the abyss.